Dennis Allen, under pressure, could add Jon Gruden to Saints staff. This is from Mike Florio, our friend Mike over at Pro Football Talk, NFL and NBC. So a report coming out of New Orleans that the Saints are talking about bringing Jon Gruden onto the staff. Now, hold your horses. Allegedly, so far as I know, it is not to be the offensive coordinator. It is just an offensive analyst kind of role, just on the staff. Okay, so it's not a huge role like OC, which kind of makes me nervous. Not going to lie, because if he's not going to be the OC, who is? Please, God, tell me it's not going to be Pete Carmichael. My biggest fear when I heard this news was that this was going to be how they placated, word of the day, to the fans. They said, look, we're going to keep Pete. We're not going to replace Pete Carmichael as OC, but Jon Gruden is going to have a bigger role in the offense. And they would hope that that's going to be enough for the fans to say, okay, all right, if Pete's got Jon Gruden there, maybe he can turn it around. That ain't good enough, all right? That's not what I want. Unless Jon Gruden is the OC, unless we fire Pete Carmichael and they say let Gruden do it, which I'm hesitant about. We'll talk about that more in this video. I'm hesitant about that idea as well. But him being a analyst or an assistant coach or assistant whatever, that just doesn't do it for me. That doesn't do it for me at all, ladies and gentlemen.
Privately, the Saints reportedly are considering adding Jon Gruden to the offensive coaching staff, not as the coordinator, as a senior
I already
assistant,
said that, Mike.
But number one, you're bringing a big personality into the building.
Okay. Now, there's a lot to this. There's a lot of moving pieces. All right? A lot. Don't look at me like that, whoever this lady is over on the right. There's a lot of moving pieces here. Now, on one hand, I thought, well, maybe this would be good because maybe Gruden is coming in to set the culture. He's coming in to stabilize the organization, to set the culture, set the identity. He's a powerful personality. He's a player's coach. He's a dude. Derek Carr likes him, all that stuff. But then I thought, why the hell would he do that? He's not the head coach. You wouldn't bring Jon Gruden in, this powerful personality, this powerful locker room guy, to set his own culture, to set his own identity. You wouldn't do that while Dennis Allen is trying to set his culture and his identity. So how would that work? How would those two clash? This seems like the worst possible time to bring in Jon Gruden. The time where the players dislike, distrust, disrespect Dennis Allen the most. Now, that's a lot of me hypothesizing, word of the day, times two. Hypothesizing that the players dislike, disrespect, distrust Dennis Allen. But right now, where things seem to be the most fragile, the most kind of skewed, the biggest kind of chasm from the players and the coaches, if you drop Jon Gruden into that, don't you think the players would gravitate to Jon Gruden? Don't you think the players would listen to Jon Gruden, respect Jon Gruden, and he would kind of sway the authority figure in the locker room? But then I thought, wait a minute, is Mickey Loomis playing 4D chess? Is Mickey Loomis putting Jon Gruden in there to do that, to win the locker room, to create the culture, create the identity, and then replace or usurp Dennis Allen? Well, why the hell would Mickey Loomis do that? Why can't he just fire? If he wanted to do that, he could just fire Dennis Allen and hire Jon Gruden. So the Gruden situation doesn't really make a lot of sense to me from where the Saints sit right now.
And that's going to take a lot for Dennis Allen to manage. And number two, it is a gigantic middle finger. I try not to actually give the middle finger as I say gigantic middle finger to the league office, which hates Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden is suing them. Jon Gruden has a lawsuit that is due to go to the Nevada Supreme Court, I think this week, on the question of whether or not the NFL can force it into arbitration where it will be guaranteed a much better result than if it plays out in court over the leak of the Gruden emails from more than 2 years ago. The emails he sent while working for ESPN to Bruce Allen, who was then a high-level executive with the Washington franchise. Who ordered the code red? Roger Goodell's a defendant, named defendant, sued by Jon Gruden. And I guess from the Saints' perspective, they can say they already hate us. Like, the Saints believe the league office is anti-Saints, and they believe that.
It is a wild move, though. I mean, it's a wild move for the Saints for all that to be happening, and while that's all happening, to bring him on as an offensive, just an offensive mind. It is kind of like Florio said, it is a bit of a middle finger to the organization or to the NFL. I don't really care about that. I don't care about if the NFL front office likes the Saints, if Roger Goodell likes the Saints, whatever. A lot of people believe that they don't. A lot of people believe the Saints have been unfairly reffed. I'm pretty sure we lead the league in flags since 2006. I think it's a wide margin since Sean Payton was there. So a wide margin of most penalized team. So, not here for the conspiracy theories, but I'm not really that concerned about that. But if the Atlanta situation was any indicator, I'm sure Dennis Allen will apologize to Roger Goodell. Dennis Allen's apologizing to everybody now, apologizing to Arthur Smith, apologizing to the Falcons. Might as well just apologize to Goodell.
Did ever since Bountygate. So why? Let's give them a reason. They're going to hate us? Let's give them a reason. Let's hire the guy they hate.
Well, let me start, Mike, by saying that I love DA. I go way back with Dennis Allen. He obviously went to Texas A&M. He's from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I got to spend a day with him when he...
Let me make this clear, too. A lot of people in the comments in the last couple of videos have said, I hate Dennis Allen, and that I don't like Dennis Allen, so my judgment is clouded or I'm biased or skewed. I don't hate Dennis Allen. Where did that idea come from? I don't hate him. I just think he's a scrub. I just think he's a clown. I just think he's one of the most losingest coaches in NFL history. And those are all kind of backed up. Here's the deal. Dennis Allen is a bad head coach. He's proven that year after year after year after year. 4.5 to be exact. He's proven that. He has showed the world exactly what he is. The Saints need a head coach. They need a culture. They need an identity. We know this. What has led Mickey Loomis to believe that Dennis Allen is the guy to right the ship, the guy to create the culture, create the identity? I have no clue. Here's the truth. This past season, if you're a Saints fan, go in the comments below. This past season, not great, right? What did you think about this last season? I would say disappointing. I would say it was a disappointing season. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it all worked out pretty well? Because that season, this past season right here, is the most successful season Dennis Allen has had as a head coach. It is his pride and joy. It is the number one season he has ever produced, is what we just saw. The only time in history that Dennis Allen has produced a record of over 500. So why do we think this guy, the guy who, by the grace of God, somehow squeezed out 9 wins with the easiest possible schedule in the NFL, why do we think that guy can turn this franchise around? I don't understand it. And it really hisses me off that we're coming out there and recommitting to Dennis Allen a day after the season's ended, 2 days after the season's ended, when Mike Vrabel's available. Jim Harbaugh just won the national championship. He's probably going to the NFL. Bill Belichick is renegotiating his contract or whatever he's got going on. Ben Johnson's out there. Eric Bieniemy's out there. Brian Flores is out there. We've got all this happening. And instead of taking calls, instead of kind of thinking about what we should do, instead of seeing what options are available, we're the first ones in line to the microphone to say, we recommit to Dennis Allen. The Saints are out. The Saints are out of any hunt for Jim Harbaugh or Mike Vrabel or Bill Belichick or whoever. The Saints are out. We're not interested. It just drives me crazy. Why are we not evaluating Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael? Why aren't we evaluating these offensive coaches and the staff? Let's evaluate some people. Let's keep our options open. Let's not immediately rush to the pedestal and say, you know what? Actually, we're good. Saints are good. We're cool. See y'all next year. We're good. Don't worry about it. We can't have that. We can't at least have this false hope that they're going to make some changes.
He was the head coach of the Raiders. I love DA, but he is on the hot seat. going into next year. He knows that. Everybody knows that. 16-18 in his career with the Saints. If he hadn't won 4 of the final 5 games, Mike, giving them a chance to get into the postseason, he wouldn't be there today, I don't think. But let's go back to when he came to the Saints in 2015. He came in as what they called a senior defensive assistant. Rob Ryan retained the defensive coordinator title. That lasted 10 months. They fired Rob Ryan, and guess who got the defensive coordinator job? Dennis Allen. So if I'm Dennis Allen, I know I'm under pressure going into next year. Jon Gruden might help me win next year. If I think he can help me win next year, then it's probably a good move. But
is it? I mean, like, I understand what she's saying. She's basically saying, do you risk bringing in a guy to help you win that also could take your job, is what she's saying. And here's my other thing on Gruden. How much does he help you win? I mean, Jon Gruden, like, are we just going to believe that Jon Gruden is like this offensive genius, this offensive mastermind? Again, he's not going to be the OC. So if you wanted to bring in like a true, tried and true offensive guy, sure, go get Joe Brady, go get Ken Dorsey, go get whoever, Ben Johnson, go get somebody. Ken Dorsey's unemployed. You know, I'm not saying Ken Dorsey is an offensive god, but he's better than Gruden. I mean, is Gruden still evolving? Is Gruden still pushing the boundaries of offense? I mean, is this the guy? If that's the whole idea, if the whole idea is let's take a risk, let's go get an offensive mind to come in here. If that's the idea, how is Jon Gruden the top of the list? Cliff Kingsbury, Ken Dorsey, 2 people right there that I would say offensive minds, relatively evolved, relatively young, kind of pushing the evolution of offense, available. Why not bring them in on the staff? You know, like why aren't we looking at options? Why aren't we kind of shopping this around? Why how is it Gruden? You know, I would like to kind of talk to different people. You know, go out there and see what's available, see what's possible. Why are the Saints rushing to what seems like another C- decision? If you told me Gruden's coming in, I'd be more happy about the cultural stability, or like not stability, but the idea that there would be a culture, the idea that there would be an identity, the idea that a head coach would be in the room. I mean, Jon Gruden did win a Super Bowl, you know. But how much of that is he going to be allowed to do if Dennis Allen is still there? Wouldn't it kind of undermine Dennis Allen if that's what Gruden is there to do? To me, it seems like Gruden would be there just to coach the offense, or not even, not just to be an offensive kind of mind, basically like an offensive counsel, because he's not there to call the offense. He's not there to be the offensive coordinator. They've made that very clear. He's not going to be the OC. So how much impact is he going to have? Probably not enough impact to set a culture and an identity. So it just seems like another weird move. I mean, it is really wild what the Saints have gone through since the Derek Carr signing. I mean, really think about it this season. We've got Derek Carr, that whole saga. He finally gets signed. We've got the Kenner police situation with Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. We've got the fans booing the team and the franchise quarterback off the field. We've got the Arthur Smith, Dennis Allen, Jameis Winston fake knee situation. We've got Jon Gruden maybe coming to the offensive staff, but not the offensive coordinator. Meanwhile, Dennis Allen is at war with his own players and fan base. There's now a GoFundMe in New Orleans to put up a Fire DA billboard. The fans are crowdsourcing a Fire DA billboard, ladies and gentlemen. That's how dire it's got.
You can see where this is going. If it doesn't work out, Mike, Jon Gruden's going to be the next head coach of the Saints. I don't have any doubt about that. If they bring him in this role, he's going to be the next head coach of the Saints, and he's going to be the next head coach of the Saints in 2025 if they can't get into the postseason next year.
And regardless of how that plays out, this is their way to get the absolute most out of Derek Carr, who spent 3.5 years with Jon Gruden in Las Vegas and Oakland before that. And, we'll see how it goes. But you're right. Look, you've only got so many years to prove you can do it at the NFL level. And Dennis Allen's had 2. Next year's a year to make it happen.
2 in New Orleans, but he's also failed for 2.5 years in Oakland. So he's failed at every opportunity. He's failed at every single opportunity he's had, because this year was a failure. So every single season he's had, which now is 4.5, he has given you 4.5 failing grades. I've used this metaphor before, but if I ask somebody to drive me to the grocery store and 4 times they wrecked on the way to the grocery store, I'd probably just walk the 5th time. I'd probably just call somebody else. I'd get an Uber. But I wouldn't consistently keep calling that person thinking that they're going to be able to get me to the grocery store. They've wrecked. They have failed. They have ruined the opportunity every single time I've given it to them. That is Dennis Allen. That's not me hating Dennis Allen. That's just being real. And here's another thing with Gruden and the car thing. So I'm with Florio. Yeah, obviously it's making Carr as comfortable as possible and trying to get the most out of him. But if you're going to do that, why not just make him OC? If you're doing that, because Derek Carr, I mean, it's also a make or break year for Carr. So let's say DA fails next year. I know, crazy idea, right? Let's say DA fails next year and you can him. So now you're talking about you're going to go into Carr's 3rd year and hope that him and Gruden can have magic. Why wouldn't you just do that now? What are you expecting to see out of DA to give him that 3rd year? Are you going to give him the whole season? What if the Saints start 0-4? What if they start 2-4, 1-3? At what point do you say, okay, we're pulling the plug? At what point do you say we're not going to let this happen for 17 games? And if you're giving DA a short run like that, if you're giving him a 4-game sample, why even waste your time? None of this really makes sense to me.
And we'll see how it goes. And if they turn it around and if they're great, maybe that sanitizes Jon Gruden's record and gets him an opportunity somewhere else. He's desperately wanted back in. He just wants to coach football. There are going to be some people who may not be happy about it. I have mixed feelings about it. Look, on one hand, you're entitled to redemption and you pay your penance. And, are you done forever? Are you forever disqualified? I don't know. It's not for me to decide because I'm not an owner deciding on whether or not to hire teams. But separate and apart from the emails that he sent is the fact that he's got an open legal war with the NFL, and the NFL doesn't like it. No company likes it when you sue them. So that makes it even harder. Hi, it's Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below where you come down on this. What are your thoughts on Jon Gruden? Would you be happy to have him here? And if you're happy to have him here for the culture and the identity, question yourself. Ask yourself this. How much will he really be able to establish a culture and identity? And if I told you he's just here to be an offensive counsel, does that move the needle? Is that enough for you? If Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen come back and Jon Gruden is an offensive analyst, does that really matter? A lot to discuss. Ooh, baby, the content is heating up. The season ended for the Saints, but somehow the content is heated up even more. Thank you for all the support of the channel. It is Tuesday, and we're well over 10,000 views on the week. Just blowing away the competition, blowing away the ratings and everyone else. So thank you very much for a hot start to 2024. 2023, we dominated. No, everyone knows that. 2024, we take over. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.